What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Saturday night. This is a rare Saturday night stream because I have my mom coming to visit me tomorrow, so I won't be able to stream. And I'm taking basically the week off so that I can spend time with family. So I figured we should do the Reacher stream tonight because it ended yesterday. I think yesterday, the day before. When did it end? I don't
Thursday,
remember anymore.
Yeah.
Thursday night it ended, but it's ended and it's done, and we're gonna do the spoiler review for it. And I figured it would be fun to just invite other people. We may be joined by some other people, but for now, this is our panel, and we're gonna be discussing the full season 2 of Reacher with plenty of spoilers. So everybody make sure you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, maybe you want to go watch it and come back. If you don't care about spoilers, then you're in the right place. Otherwise, don't yell at us for spoiling it because this is a spoiler review. Without further ado, let's get into it. But we're going to start with introducing the panel. And tonight we have with us Sir Script Doctor. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here because we're going to be talking about a really fun show that needs more attention and love, darn it.
Yes, we are. And Script Doctor has a channel. Everybody's info is in the description down below. Make sure you are subscribed. We also have Teresa here. Hello, Teresa.
Hey, good evening. Great to be here. Special Saturday Night Live. The best kind.
Yeah, that's good. Saturday Night Live. I like that. Okay, great. And we also have Michelle, my co-host of Toxic Femininity from Force of Light Entertainment. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. It's good to be here, and I think we'll have a good discussion.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm so glad I finally learned your name, and I didn't mess it up before.
You finally got it.
It's been a few years. Spending like every Monday together for a while. I finally caught on. Okay, let's get started. I'm gonna open the floor up to basically anybody can jump in at any point. We're not gonna do a structured stream, guys. I'm just letting you know this is gonna be a fun one where we're just gonna talk about the show. We're not going episode by episode. We're just gonna basically kind of talk about what we thought of the show and anything that comes to our mind. So, Script Doctor, tell us your overall thoughts on season 2 of Reacher.
I thought it was a pretty solid season. I enjoyed the connections that we're getting a little bit with regards to Reacher's time in the military and the team that he put together. I thought that was really cool. It gave a bit more depth to the character beyond him just being the lone wanderer that we saw in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the mystery setup in the first season more than the second season. I feel a couple of things were played out a little bit too quickly, but I liked some of the gimmicks. I liked some of the twists and turns and the setups and the distractions or the red herrings that they provided. I thought were all very logical and were step by step taking us through the plot. And I was really satisfied with the acting. I liked everybody that was in there. We had a little bit of a pseudo reunion between Alan Richardson and Carla Dixon, who Serinda Swan, who they were Smallville alumni. They played Aquaman and Zatanna respectively, and appeared in a few episodes. So they kind of got to share some screen time together. They had some good chemistry.
I didn't know that because I never watched Smallville.
You're not missing much. But like these are just people that got their start in that show. And also we got Dominic Lombardozzi, who played Guy Russo, who we'll remember from Tulsa King. And he did a great job. I really liked his character in this as well. And I liked how everything kind of was woven together in a very interesting and fun way. And
I was surprised he wasn't a corrupt cop in this one. I was waiting for that. I was like, come on.
Yeah, we were all waiting for it, but it's like if they commit to that will show some really good character. And I was happy that wasn't the case. I was happy that he was truly an honest cop.
Agreed.
For that. So those are my initial thoughts before we get into the deeper spoilers here.
Yeah, that's good. Those are good thoughts. What about you, Teresa?
I enjoyed it very much. It's very much like a book, I always say, is if it keeps you turning the page, well, that it's got something there and it's definitely worth watching. And this kept me watching. It was a very worthy successor to season 1. I really enjoyed it. I think we're going to get into it a little bit later about a few of the nitpicky things, but I really liked the camaraderie, the warm feelings that we saw, especially among Reacher and his people. And I thought the ending, it was maybe a bit too happy, but that's okay because I think every now and then we need a ray of sunshine in our lives.
I like happy endings, so I was
I do
actually
too.
fine with it. What about you, Michelle? What were your overall thoughts?
And I know we might get into this a little later if anyone disagrees, but I waited to like binge this to where I could just like watch them together. And it really plays well in a binge type way because it really is just like a book. So you're just moving on from like chapter to chapter, to where if that's broken up, that's a little more difficult to remember what happened in the previous one. But saying that, watching it that way, I actually had more fun with this than even the first season. And I really did enjoy the first season, but I just thought this one was so much fun. And like Script said, I thought it gave the character of Reacher more depth because we got to know like him actually have friends and not just be the loner. And for me, what really made this season the most, I mean, I say the most, more fun for me personally than season 1 is I like the supporting cast around him better in this. Like, I enjoyed these characters more than the ones that were close to him in season 1. And then I think I just kind of enjoyed the city element and kind of this conspiracy. I don't know. I had a lot of fun though.
Yeah, it was a really fun show. I mean, I kind of agree with all of you. Because I agree with you, Script Doctor, because I thought like there was certain parts of the mystery that felt a little rushed. I don't know, maybe it was like the 8-episode thing, or not. But overall, I like the happy ending. But I also thought that there was certain things that just like I enjoyed season 1 a little bit better, but I think it might have been because I binged season 1. I remember binging it because I don't remember like doing the episodic thing. And I think that worked better for me for this particular show because I don't always feel that way about binging, but in this particular show, I felt that way because every time I watched this, like the next week, I'd already forgotten the previous episode, and I was like, thank God there's like a refresher every time they're like the recap, the little episode recap, because I was like, I've totally forgotten what I watched the week before. So I feel like I definitely want to watch it again because I should also say that I've only watched this once, all the way through. So I feel like I definitely want to go back and watch it again and like just a binge watch and go through the whole thing and see how it flows together as a story versus doing it in episode like separate weeks. But otherwise, like all in all, I did enjoy it. I thought it was really good. There's a couple of things it was a little confusing, but we'll get into all that. So I guess we'll start with Script Doctor. What do you think about like the script and writing and all the different, your forte? How did you feel about all that?
I thought it was serviceable to the story at hand. These types of mysteries and these types of procedurals do require a lot of exposition. So you have to give it a little bit of latitude in that regard. I will say the opening to the season premiere was fantastic. I like the tension that they built around. I like the fact that they showed him as an astute and observationalist. I like the fact that even when he was given a little bit of conflict from people in a service department area, he wasn't rude or disrespectful to them. We're seeing a little bit of his character where he's just trying to be an honest guy, figuring out what he's doing as he's wandering from town to town, so to speak. I really appreciated that. I liked the moments of character where, as they're investigating the members of their team who have gone missing and they haven't really figured out what's happened to them, they're finding that group photo that they took after their first night of bonding. And he's the one that's disappointed that he doesn't have a copy of that photo. And we get a payoff on that later towards the end of the season where the photo is actually handed out to everybody and Reacher just decides not to take it.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the where he was in that position and this form of regret that he had initially. And I really enjoyed that because I'm like, this is an interesting character. This shows that he is a human, even though he is technically like a modern aged Conan of sorts, the
Kind
lone
of,
wanderer
yeah.
who definitely can get his fair share of women, but he's very particular about who he ends up spending time with. And then the building up of the tension between him and Dixon, I thought was really well done. There were some aspects of the show where certain things felt a little bit too convenient. Like when they meet up with Dixon, who happens to be in the exact same underground parking lot they're in when they need to find a car. I'm like, that's a little too convenient, but I get they're just trying to get quicker into introducing and building this team back together. And I also especially like the little conflict where Reacher is trying to figure out the P.O. box to one of his team members, and you have the nosy old lady who wants to
Oh my God, yeah, that was funny.
call out a crime. And I understand her perspective too. It's like someone's doing something that clearly is not right here.
Yeah.
And there's no way she should know that he's actually a good guy. But the other
Yeah, why
part
would
too,
she?
like she's going to the wrong person. It's like she's just standing there saying, "Oh, you're not supposed to be here." When really the most effective thing is you go to the county, you interrupt the person who says someone is trying to mess with those PO boxes. You need to call the police.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
proper way it's done.
She was such a Karen, though. She was like, "What are you doing?"
I will say I think the structure was pretty good. The way that they delivered pieces of evidence and information and how they did setups and payoffs, I think were pretty strong. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I wouldn't really want to change the dialogue because it did service the story a lot, even though it was a little bit too heavy on the exposition. But I think that's just part of the brand of this show because the first season had a lot of that too. It did have that one annoying thing where Reach would define another person's character in front of everybody. And I'm like, that's not fun writing because that's telling instead of showing. But there was a lot less of that here. But I did like some of the setups, especially like the last episode before we get to it. I enjoyed how that kind of concluded.
Okay,
those are my thoughts.
Amazing. Did anybody have anything to add to that with regarding to the script and writing?
Well, I'd like
Michelle?
to piggyback a bit on what Script
Sure.
said about the convenience of the way the character was in the parking garage. I don't know if you recall in our first review of this, that made me suspect her. I thought, okay, that was just too convenient. And the same thing with the other dude who just showed up right after the apartment was trashed. I actually thought those were going to be bad guys. And then it turns out, oh no, it really was just convenient. And that was just what they were doing. I don't know if they intended us to be suspicious of the team because of that, but sometimes I guess the obvious is just plain the obvious.
Well, I mean, was anyone really surprised that Swan ended up not being the bad guy? Because I mean, when we originally reviewed like the first 3 episodes, we're all like, I don't think he's gonna be a bad guy. Everybody was just like, I don't know. We all kind of sided with Reacher, but because Reacher was the one that was like, there's no way Swan that I hired would be like, or I recruited into this unit would be like a bad dude. And then everybody was like, well, you don't know what happens to people after like we separate. So he could be a bad dude now. But I was like, nah, I don't see it. And it was exactly what I thought. Like Swan went and infiltrated basically that group so that they can get so he can catch them and doing bad things. So you guys weren't surprised either, right?
No.
Yeah, that was
I was disappointed that he essentially was a character that was killed off screen.
Yeah, I was hoping that we get to see, well, not him getting killed, but more like of what happened, like how he infiltrated, and like I was hoping that they would expand on that a little bit instead of just telling us, like, like showing us instead of telling us kind of thing. Especially when like at the end, like they kind of build it up and then they were like, oh yeah, he's still here, and then the guy just pulls out his eye out of the jar and he's like, oh yeah, I just kind of like, tortured and killed him and used his eye. And what else did he use?
He took a finger, an index finger in his eye.
Yeah.
That's right. It was the finger that he took. I was like, it was pretty brutal. How did you guys like, I guess, how he dealt with like the villain. Like, did you guys like how he like took everybody out this time around? Like the main villain, like what was his name? I forgot his name already.
Robert Patrick Langstrom, I think.
Yeah, Langston.
That's it. The Terminator dude.
Yeah, Terminator. Oh, by the way, I really like that Terminator reference in there.
I did too.
Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. Just tossed him out just like he did his friends. It was karma.
Yeah, it was good. It was like I liked his death better than the other guy, AM, because it felt like they were setting up AM to be so just, I don't know, like so much more powerful than he was. And it kind of felt like a little flat when they finally was like, I don't know, just ran into him in that house. They like tracked him down and they're like, oh, we're all here now. We're just gonna like shoot you. It just felt like, because at first they made him so creepy with the whole like child weirdness with the whole like comic books, and he kept doing that, and I was like, he's so creepy, and he's clearly like more than just a murderer. Like there's more going on here. And then it was like, oh, that's it, we're just gonna shoot him. It's over. It's like, okay. It was good dialogue though before they shot him.
Yeah, they did really kind of set him up. Like in the beginning of the season, you kind of feel like this guy's going to be really dangerous and like,
yeah,
this big bad villain. And then like his story in this season is he goes from Colorado to New York.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
I agree with this Attack the Mountain. I feel like they could have had an episode of like Swan. I think that's what was missing, was like, I wanted to see what happened with Swan and how he infiltrated and how he got caught. And he's a big actor too, so it felt like there was room for him to do something like that. I wonder why they didn't do that. Script Doctor, why do you think they didn't do that?
I think they ended up doing there was an episode that was dedicated to Swan, but it was more about whether or not they could trust him. And it had to do with that drug bust gone wrong. And I think that's where they tried to lean into it, which I appreciated, but I would have really liked to have seen, because we got to see a little bit of the other two guys and how they've met their fate. Because at the beginning of the show, you see the initial dude and he gets tossed out the helicopter.
Yeah.
So
which is brutal, by the way.
Which was very brutal. And so I really was like hoping, okay, I would like to see the moment where Swan made the mistake and got caught. And then you didn't have to show us the murder or anything, but you just have to show us the act of him getting caught. But I think they really wanted to play up the idea that you weren't supposed to know if you could trust him or not until the absolute very end. And that came with the cost, which is that we didn't get to see anything to reinforce that moment. We ended up having to be told that he was caught and killed.
But don't you think they could have done that like an episode book, like kind of like an episode 7, because like it would be like, oh, the ending is coming up, so then the viewer finally knows, but then Reacher and them are going to find out episode 8. You know what I'm saying? So it would have been like 9 episodes instead. Like, if keep everything else, you just add like 1 extra episode before the ending, before the finale.
I can understand that. However, the structure of this show is that it doesn't allow for much dramatic irony when it comes to the mystery. Like, we are not, as the audience, are supposed to find out the details as Reacher does.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
So I think there'd probably been a better thing if somewhere you had a cut. Because again, the last episode is actually shorter than a lot of the other ones. So there was room there, a good 10, 15 minutes where you could have, maybe 50 minutes would be too long, but you could have had something of Swan only in more present day.
Yeah, like a flashback or something.
Yeah, and it's basically like, well, where's Swan? And then you go to the flashback, and then right before he gets caught, you cut to the scene where Robert Patrick Langstrom, he pulls out the jar with the eye and the finger, and like that's all you need.
Yeah, I think that would have been like a more of an improvement on that. I did like all the characters. I think my favorite character was the dad dude though. What was his name? I'm so bad at the names. I'm terrible at the names. I'm sorry.
The cop?
I'm sorry, people. No, he's not a cop. The
young kid with the
blonde hair. The new guy, the blonde.
Yeah, the blonde guy.
Yeah, I like the blonde too.
O'Donnell, right.
O'Donnell, that's right. That guy. I like him a lot. I also think he was really cute. So that's probably why I like him.
Well, that's
Nothing
why I
ever
say
wrong.
I preferred this season because I preferred, again, the people around him more. And you kind of need really okay, Reacher's an interesting character on his own to where he can hold a show, but
Mhm.
I think it's helpful when he has, an ensemble that can really kind of bring things out of him because he's kind of like a walking Terminator. Like there's not a lot of motion or stuff going on. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it
he
helps the show have a little more emotion and something to connect to.
yeah, I totally know what you mean. Because he's, like, literally like a walking like, he covers the whole screen, like, he's so big. So it's like every time it's on him. I like how they would do the shots, though, where they're like, especially at the beginning of every episode, they're like, "Reacher," and they, like, have his entire face into the camera. It's just like that like, it's just him, and it's just like, "Reacher," and I'm like, "Okay." Like, this is yeah, we get it. It's Reacher's show. But it's good. Like I agree with you because uh in I think the other part though that like I agree and disagree in a sense that like I like the cast that was surrounding him more to the season. Like he had more to do with them because he was
Mhm,
so kind of mysterious in the first season, and he only had the two really, the black dude and the chick,
Mhm.
that were until like the very last episode where they found the other dude. But they were the only ones surrounding him. Whereas in this one, and of course, her Neely was in the first one too, but less so than this one. Neely, like he got to really know, we got to know Neely more in this season as well. And I think one of the things that we talked about was in the last season was how like is Neely a Mary Sue, and like how because she like took out all those guys and we were like, well, like she's in his unit and we know that like they're army trained and all this kind of stuff. And then we finally got to see her in action and all of them really like, and how even the chicks, like how they're so badass and like they're army chicks and they can shoot and they can fight. And but you can also tell that they have um like they're not as strong as like Reacher. There was a couple times where like the chicks were getting beat up and the dudes had to come and kind of rescue them, or vice
Mhm.
versa, like somebody had to shoot the other guy that was about to kill them. But I like to see, like, I like the development of Neely's character, and like showing like even her vulnerabilities with her dad and like all this kind of stuff that she's doing to basically help him out, and like how she's like sending him money, but she doesn't want to put him in like the crosshairs because she knows what she does is dangerous. So she doesn't. She's kind of doing the same thing Reacher is doing, but less.
Less physical.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But it was good in that sense that it showed that camaraderie, but also like his past and why these girls were so badass. But I like the last love interest better. I think that's what it was that I
See,
liked
I like this
more.
one better.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, the
That's
first one,
funny.
like, sh I didn't really love her character, to be honest.
Why? She was great. But I
I felt like she was a little of a too much of a modern woman, and I mean that in a bad way.
oh,
That's funny.
a
That's funny.
whammon.
She's a
That
whammon.
kind of. I felt like she was a little too abrasive. I don't know. I thought the one, and maybe it's because I like the actress more. I don't know, because I've seen her in other stuff before. I just think she has more of a sexiness and kind of like I don't know,
That's
just
funny
more of a
because I have the exact opposite feeling about the other girl because I've seen her in more stuff and I think she's cuter. That's why I like I liked her more. Okay, let's
Yeah.
let's have this talk. Who had more chemistry with him?
Oh.
Mm.
Well, because
I
you see, I
probably
was suspicious of her the whole time, so that's why I wasn't getting into her. I was like, "Don't trust that witch." She was. I'm sorry, and then she suddenly had him in bed. It's like, oh, that's the oldest trick in the book. But physical chemistry, yeah, I think I would root for this chick. Now, of course, now that I know that she's not evil, like maybe I need to rewatch it without my prejudice. But I thought that they had chemistry and their sex scene was a little better. Wasn't the other sex scene in the other one? They were like in the shower.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
that
I'm sorry,
very
shower
memorable.
memorable, but shower sex scenes, we all know that's fantasy. So
I know. It's
Eh,
very movie. Like
you've got some support if you got some support arms in there, you can get it done.
Oh,
I
oh
know, but you know
wow.
what I mean.
But Syringa
Well,
Swan has a no nudity clause in her her contracts every single time. She doesn't. She knows she has a nice body. She just doesn't want to show it, and I don't begrudge her for not, because that's her choice, of course.
Respect.
Yeah, good for
But
her.
the thing is that like they didn't. The studio also didn't pressure. They just said, "Hey, we really like you for this. It does require nudity. Is that comfortable for you? Is that comfortable for you?" She says no. And they said, "Okay, whatever. You're still hired. Like we'll find a way around it." They didn't care. But yeah, like she's I would say she has some pretty strong chemistry with him, even though I would probably argue the Willa Fitzgerald, who played the cop in the first season, I think she's a more skilled actor. This one here, Swan, she's good, but she's gotten as far as she has more for her looks than her talent, and that's kind of a known thing. I mean,
Damn,
the
Swift
thing is, she
Doctor.
has talent. It's just her range is a little bit more limited. Willa Fitzgerald has a lot more range and stuff, but I think she worked well off of Richardson and in this season as well, because I didn't hate her. I like the fact that I was able to be suspicious of her actions, and and I appreciated, like she kind of was a bit more reserved than I've seen her in other roles, where she's a little bit
What?
not on point.
Do you know I never suspected her one time?
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really either. You know what's funny is I actually kind of the people I suspected were actually the blonde guy, and the reason I like, what was his name again? Oh my god, I should write this down.
O'Donnell?
Yeah, O'Donnell. I actually did suspect him a little bit because I liked him so much, and I was like, whenever I like characters, they turn out to be bad people, and so I was like, I don't know, I'm suspicious of that guy. I was a little suspicious of her, but not really all that much. She checked out like pretty much, but I was also suspicious of the cop dude, and then he turned out to be a good dude. But also like he kind of reminded me of like his role kind of reminded me of how he played in The Wire, because in The Wire he was a good cop too, but he was also like on kind of like on the gray, like he's getting that line. So it's very similar to how he portrayed himself in The Wire. That's why I feel like sometimes he gets a little typecast in these kind of situations. But he's still really good. I mean, I enjoy him in anything I see him. But I'm curious to know, like, what did you like? Because you guys are talking about that you've seen her in different things. Like Michelle, you were saying you've seen her in more things that you like, but Script, you're saying you've seen her in more things that you think that she doesn't have range on. So what is it that you guys have seen her in? Because I don't even know what she's in other than this. I don't remember seeing her in anything.
I saw her in a USA show called Graceland that I enjoyed the first 2 seasons, and then I just kind of mentally checked out of it.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought it got more ridiculous, but it was like a fun show.
Oh, okay.
She was Medusa in Inhumans, which is not her best role.
Is that anyone's best role?
Yeah. She was in Ballers for a very short period. I didn't think she really made an impact in Ballers. No offense to her, but she had a pretty decent run, I think, in Graceland, which was a series from like way back, like a decade ago.
That's what I mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought she was pretty. That was more to her skill set, in my opinion.
See, that's all I've seen her in.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, how did you guys feel about the other cop that turned out to be bad? The one that they Reacher ended up killing. That whole scene was so weird with the whole like standoff. Like, is he gonna go for a gun or are you not gonna go for the gun? That was a funny scene. And I was like, don't do it, bro. Like he has it on you. Like the gun is on you. He's way faster than you are. Like just don't go. And then he went for it.
You have a desk pinned up against your leg. I mean,
yeah,
you're not really in a position to do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that was hurtful. Like that felt painful. And I'm not even a guy. And I was like, ooh, like his balls, like ouch, they got crushed with that desk. That I mean, I kind of expected him to be corrupt, like especially before he because there's always corrupt cops So it was either going to be the bald dude that was going to be corrupt, or that guy, and it turned out to be that guy. And that was the thing. Now, with regards to the ending, there was also that other unit that Neely called, and then they came,
and then they turned on him.
Yeah, then they turned on him. See, I wasn't following that a little bit. Can you guys explain that to me? I was like, what?
The senator or congressman or whatever he was, I believe senator, he sent them. I mean, he had them help them, but then they were to take them out because the senator could risk a chance of anything getting back to him, like on him.
Right.
Oh, with
He was
regards to
just
that.
kind of a corrupt politician.
Yeah, because he helped
okay.
facilitate this deal initially, like at least the program for this type of computer chip that could cause guidance on a missile to, you know, shoot past, make the target think it missed, and then swing around and destroy it. And that was one of his I guess one of the laws or bills that he passed, authored and passed. So he was kind of like the source of this problem because he did this. They had to get a subcontractor out, which would be the American company, whatever it was called, which names escape me at the moment.
And I know it's escaping me now too. Script.
Yeah, me too.
It's a very generic name. It wasn't really memorable.
It was like very generic.
or something.
But then again, I forget character names, so obviously I'm not going to remember this. Sorry. Go ahead.
But the senator's actions caused a domino effect, which has led to all of these outcomes. So he was like the end target, so to speak. And yeah, I was expecting him to betray Reacher and co. It was like, yeah, let's get rid of the guys. You know, my plan is screwed up. I'm not going to get my kickback or what have you. So I might as well kill all the loose ends, because Langstrom also has his loose ends that he wants to get rid of. And so, yeah, they had the same mentality. It just the senator did it in a far more backstabby political way than Langstrom was trying to do it.
What did you guys think of the premise of what this was about? Like this whole because at first when we were reviewing it originally, we were thinking like it was drugs. Like in the first 3 episodes are kind of like they're not really telling us what it is that company is even doing. So at first we thought it was drugs, and then we thought maybe it is weapons, and it was kind of like weapons, but it wasn't technically weapons. It was this code for this missile program or whatever, to make them go and hit any target at whatever.
A guidance chip, yeah.
The guidance chip, yeah, and the code for the guidance chip. So what did you guys think of that? Did you like that? I thought it was okay. Like it was in the.
I agree with you, Nina. It was okay. It's not like, oh, it's super exciting, but it would be very harmful, obviously, in the wrong hands. And at the end of the day, I think with the show, it was more just the fact that this was something people are willing to kill over.
Yeah.
You know, that meant more than the actual product itself. Just that there was, you know, it was, the stakes were high.
Did you guys like how like Reacher told those guys, like the pilot and that other dude, to leave, and then they went to the helicopter and then they shot them with a missile?
I was kind of like, well, dang.
I mean, as soon as Neely picked up that bazooka or that rocket-propelled grenade launcher, whatever it was, I'm like, well, they're not clearly honoring their end of the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know how to feel about that, actually.
I didn't feel great about it, Nina.
I didn't either, because I was like, they were I mean, especially the pilot guy. It was like, okay, he was just, you know, he just got paid to take a bunch of people from point A to point B. Like he really didn't.
He may not have known all the details, yeah. And he might not have been the original pilot that was there when the other guy was thrown out the helicopter.
Yeah, exactly. That's so I was like, I don't know if I feel great about this one. It felt a little, I don't know, kind of like bad guys. Like bad guys would kill them, but
it did, Nina. That did not sit right with me, and I feel like the only way we could have all been like, we could have all kind of reacted the way I think they wanted us to react to that, of them using that chip to guide and blow up that helicopter, would be they should have showed us what these guys had done. Like let them participate, let us see the guy in the helicopter when they throw the guy out the helicopter. You know, let us see them be involved taking down one of his people in his unit. And then we wouldn't care as much as the audience. But it's like you said, when we don't know the details, that neither one of these people seem to harm anyone and didn't seem to have a very big role in it, you're kind of like that, that was way harsh.
Yeah, it felt like I thought their death was more brutal than like kind of like what they did to AM. I was like, they blew these people up in a freaking like, what's it called, in a chopper after they told them that they can go. It felt kind of like how I was like, ooh, that's what bad guys do, not good guys. What about you, Teresa? Did you like that scene?
I loved it. Maybe I'm just turning completely to the dark side. I'm getting close to the second half. I'm almost to half a century now. Oh man, I'm just like, just kill them all. They're bad. They're liars. Yeah, they knew exactly what was going on. They just didn't have time to show us that. But I agree with Michelle that maybe just a few shots showing us that might have made it a little bit easier. But I just felt like it was poetic justice.
I would have been more fine. Like if they had showed that pilot guy was the pilot guy that was in the chopper when that guy was throwing people off, like the first guy, like Swan or whatever, when they killed him off, or not Swan, the other guy, the first guy that this was all about.
Say, Nina, you even just see like they kick the guy on the plane and you just see the guy kind of turn his head and look forward and kind of chuckle.
Yeah,
like does not care, have no empathy for what just happened.
Yeah.
That would have made it fine.
I mean, it felt weird because it's kind of like it felt weird because it made the military look bad in that sense, because like, this is kind of the kind of stuff like the cartel do, like leave no witnesses kind of thing. So it felt a little cartelish. Like I was like, I don't know if like the heroes are supposed to kill like innocent people. I mean, I know they're not innocent, but they weren't really involved in the deal. And that one guy was like, I'm just an engineer, man. Like, I just got paid.
It kind of makes you feel like they're the Punisher.
Yeah. Like they've taken the law into their own hands, which is, I mean, technically, I guess they all did that. I mean, at that point, they were fine with doing that.
Only the senator is going to face trial in this. Yeah, he's the only one alive.
They're all got the one-way ticket to justice. I thought the bigger crime was the fact that he turned into the Incredible Hulk and was able to hold on to a wheel with one.
Let's talk. You know what?
Well,
let's talk about that scene.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that scene, because I was having a little bit of a hard time with that scene too. I mean, we've seen it before. I feel like in other action movies, like it's happened. I actually was able to like suspend my disbelief a little bit about it, just because, I mean, look at this guy's arms. Like, I mean, it's huge. His arms are massive, So
he's
I'm like,
big boy, yeah.
Yeah, he's a big boy. I feel like he can hang on. But then you count for like the wind resistance and all of it. Like the chopper is pretty fast. And he's just like, he's holding on to it. And then that scene where his arm is stabbed and then like he's holding on to like the stretcher, but he's also hanging on. I was like, okay, this guy, like, is he Superman? Because that's like not gonna.
Nina, you just took the literal words that I had, because let's forget even he jumps on the helicopter and somehow climbs his way up. The fact they would need to run tests. I don't think any man on the planet could hold a grown woman on a stretcher with one arm, with all the wind resistance that would be happening with an open helicopter. Like the weight of that.
Yeah.
I mean, we would need scientists to figure that one out, but it's going to be so heavy that was just almost too, like, not almost. I like that. I accept it because it's the type show it is, but it was too ridiculous.
It was a bit out there. Like I was like, okay.
But Reacher's supposed to be freakishly strong. I mean, he kicked a car and triggered the airbag.
That's true.
But this was over there. It just seemed to me like a scene out of the MCU, but without the superpowers.
Yeah, like it was like Captain America or Thor. Yeah,
that's what I'm like. Is he Superman now? He might as well fly, because it's like, dude, he's holding on to and look, he's got the knife in his arms. Like that's a knife. That's a knife sticking out of this guy's arm. He's like bleeding out.
He's got adrenaline pumping through him because of the shock of that blade in his forearm.
That's true.
The thing is, there's variables introduced here that allow you to suspend your disbelief. the other part is that actress is like 130 pounds. That gurney's like 30 pounds. So he's holding 160. And
Okay,
even with
you're
the wind
right.
resistance, the wind resistance may be pulling on him a little bit, but it's also resisting a little bit of the fall because there's like drift and surface area to cover. So, I mean, there are physics involved. I think normally for this type of, if this was not a Jack Reacher character, this is a general like 230-pound muscle-bound man, I don't think he'd be able to hold on to that current gurney as long as he did in this particular shot. Like he held on for a long time, and then the whole switch from one hand to the other is like,
Meanwhile,
okay,
he's
that's just a
getting
stunt.
kicked like in
Yeah.
the side. Like that guy was like kicking him, and the dude's barely even moving. Like he didn't even like loosen his grip, and he's just giving arm to the side. And I'm just like, dude, is this guy like just Superman at this point? I mean, he's still a human being. It was
Little Sausage in the chat says that the books had the same problem. He kept increasing Reacher's power level.
oh no.
He's like Superman level.
That's like George R.R. Martin when he wrote The Wall, like the the ice wall, he wrote it like it's like 900 feet, like 900 feet or something, like something ridiculous, and then he realized how like he totally fucked up on the mathematics of it, and he made it something like impossible. Russell Hall for $5 says, firstly, the military does evil shit all the time, and especially intelligence services. I mean, seriously, evil. That said, remember that Han shot first.
No, Han shot Greedo. There's no first. He shot Greedo.
Well, that's the thing, Russell. Like, I agree. The military does do evil shit all the time, but these guys weren't supposed to be like
bad.
Like these guys, yeah, these guys were supposed to be the good pine. It's over 9,000. That's what it was. Yeah. But it was like these guys were supposed to be the sect of the military that went against, because like even in the show, it was showing how the military is corrupt, because originally what the unit was there to do, they went to a point where the military told them to shut down. Like they were like, shut it down. Like this is over, blah, blah, blah. Like we're not doing this. And then Reacher was like, well, if you guys want to leave, you can, because we're going to be basically AWOL after this. Because otherwise, we're gonna all get discharged, blah 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 blah. But if you're with me, you're with me. But we got to get this heroin off the street. So they were corrupt in that sense. Even in this season, they were kind of showing that. But it just felt weird because these guys were going against everything bad the military was doing, and therefore it just seemed a little out of character for them to be like, okay, well. Especially telling them like, yeah, you're free to go. Yeah, go ahead. And then they're like, let's shoot him down with this rocket.
That's like some Cold War tactics. I mean,
yeah, it was
like
weird.
It's bad.
But also like they also added a bit of humor into it though, a little bit, which was funny, which was when like they finally shot the missile, and then the missile like did its thing. And then those other guys betrayed them right after. And they were like, well, why'd you wait this long? And that one guy was like, well, they probably wanted to see us shoot the missile because they want to see that like chopper blow up or whatever. So I thought that was funny. And then Russell adds $2 and says, he who shoots first shoots last unless they miss. That's a good point. That's a good point.
True. Alec Baldwin would agree.
Oh boy.
Oh, sorry. Did I go there? I went there.
Oh, you went there. So do we think
deserve.
Alec Baldwin did it? Like, I mean, I know
intentionally?
Yes,
No,
intentionally.
It's almost impossible to prove intentionally. It's possible to prove negligence, but intention.
Tim Pool is convinced that he intended to kill that chick. Like,
unless they can prove that Helena Hutchins was blackmailing Alec Baldwin with something, there you cannot hold. It doesn't hold water.
I mean, it was pretty wild. I know it's totally off topic, but I feel like,
well,
I don't know.
If you want to talk about investigations, I think the flashback investigation was a really good one, because I liked their sting operation that you were setting up earlier, Nina. It's like they were going to go to the meet to find the drugs, and they searched the cars, they searched the vehicles as thoroughly as they could, and they couldn't find anything. And then you're like, well, wait a minute, there's one place they could hide them that they haven't searched, and it's like, oh, the spare tire. And I'm like, that was really cleverly done. And it probably wasn't even just the spare tires, it could have been all of the tires as well, because they could have towed those cars in there, or maybe they could have driven them a short distance with the drugs occupying what should be air. Who knows the litigations on that, but or the details on that. But I thought that was a really cool thing. They nailed an investigation that unfortunately we are told it took over many years for them to figure out. But it was one of the big cases that they needed to get resolved before they essentially got their unit disbanded.
Yes. And then that guy, when he came, was like, "You fucked me." Like what's it called? What is he called? The general? He wasn't a general. What was he again? I don't know. What
He's a major.
Is he a major? Okay, that's what he was. He was really mad. He was big mad.
Oh, yeah.
I really like that scene though. See, that was one of the good flashback scenes that they did where they kind of that like again, you talked about this earlier, but they showed like how, who printed the picture and put it out there for everybody, and like this guy is playing the guitar, and how much of a camaraderie was going on here, and how much they all like were basically like family, which was basically the ending message of the last episode, that they were family, which is what Neely was basically trying to tell him. And he didn't say anything to her, but he ended up saying that to the old guy in the car, or I mean in the bus after. There was sorry, go ahead, Teresa, were you gonna say something?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, that I thought that was also a good show don't tell moment. I mean, so there was just a nice way to kind of end it and bookend it.
Yeah, because they didn't want to make him like he was all, I don't know, like he's like in his feels, like he still wanted to be like Reacher, like the strong guy for Neely. And then he goes on the bus and he's like, yeah, I was visiting family, which was really cute. I also really like this other scene, like before we get to the end, where they take another picture, because that picture was like, was a symbolic representation of their family at that point. And now their family is basically this. So like, let's take another picture. And I really like that. I like that they gave Reacher the money, and they were like, okay, you need to distribute the money because you don't care about money. But it was funny to me that he was like, I just need a toothbrush. Like I don't need anything else. He's such a minimalist. At one point I was like, why didn't you just get himself a car at least?
I know.
But
he
then
got himself a year-long bus pass and a new toothbrush, which didn't have a travel protector around the brushes, which is really important for hygiene. So
yeah, he should get one of those travel protectors for sure. I mean, I was thinking that too, Script, but then again, like, I mean, the bus pass, like, I mean, come on. But I thought maybe the reason he didn't get a car is because he just doesn't want to be found. So he like you would have to have a register, like you have to have
the
registration and
license
all that
and
stuff.
Insurance, and if you park somewhere and you got a ticket or towed, then
I
think he's never gonna have a car.
So I think that's why, because he still wants to stay, below the radar kind of thing. But it was good. It was a good ending, and I think it was funny that he got the bus pass. It was funny. Do you guys have any final thoughts about the season, or anything you guys want to add? Because I think we've basically gone through it.
No, again, and binge watching it, I had a lot of fun. It the story flowed very nicely. I had a lot of fun with it. It's a show you can't take too, and I actually appreciate about that. You can't take it too serious, but to its credit, I feel it knows what it is.
Yeah.
And it executes, pun intended, it executes that very well. Like, it is an action movie, action TV show. There may be a few deaths that you weren't sure if they were going to happen or not, but for the most part, it's a pretty lighthearted vibe to the show, which I actually appreciate.
Yeah, like for example, I really like the scene where they walk into the diner, and everyone's like staring at them like, what the is going on?
And they just don't care. Like, they've had a heck of a night.
Yeah, they just don't give a shit. And then they go and sit down, and then the lady, like, they all order coffee, and Neely's like, cereal. She says, like, she orders like the weirdest thing. And I
3
thought that that
bowls
was
of
really
it.
cool. Yeah, 3 bowls. That was really cool as well. Russell Halford too says Tim Pool is convinced that conspiracy theories are profitable.
They are,
Well, I mean, they
actually.
are. I mean, look
Yeah,
at
that's a
Alex
fact.
Jones.
Darn right. People making lots of bank on it.
They're
There's
more
a
profitable
lot.
when they turn out to be true. But the thing is, you know, the over and under on that is not in its favor of truth as much as we'd like it to be.
Maybe he just likes taking the bus. I mean, the bus? I mean, come on. The bus sucks. I don't
Yeah, it
know.
does.
I mean, aside from the fact that you the only advantage being you don't have to drive. Like
Yeah.
that's it. I mean,
Yeah, that's it.
aside from that, you're dealing with a bunch of other people. Not everyone is as hygienic as you are. So, you know, you gotta
Yeah.
worry about that.
It's like,
You
ugh.
can't pull over whenever you need to.
Oh, you
It's
gotta
not
use
as
that
much
awful
freedom.
toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the things. But I guess he just really doesn't care. Okay, let's talk about I'm guessing none of you guys have read the books, right?
No.
I read a few
No.
here and there, but not the one that this particular season was based off of.
Okay, because what's going to happen with season 3? I mean, obviously there's going to be a season 3. This is one of the most successful Amazon shows. It would be ridiculous if they don't renew it for season 3. So, do you guys know which book it's going to be based off of, or any news about that, or where can they go from here?
I don't, because I don't have any clue, so I'll let someone else talk on that who knows it. But I will say this: if I was Amazon, I would already have them get a contract and get them tied up for not only season 3, but like 4 and 5, because it's one of their biggest shows. It's so easy to keep going because there's just I think I heard there's like 16 or 18 books.
24.
Oh, is it?
24?
Wow.
Oh, there's
Okay.
24. So
Oof. So
to
we got a
me,
long way to go.
like just get this going and pump one out once a year, like it's like any other television show, because it's going to do really well.
Yeah. So just to clarify, the season 3 is for sure happening. I'm just reading it now. It's definitely happening
Yeah,
because the
they're filming it.
announcement for the new season actually came before the second season even began. So yeah, they're well into production now. So they're doing it.
And I would not be surprised if this summer we get an announcement for season 4 and 5 as well, because again, this season 2 did well with critics, with audiences. So this is a Skydance production, and they have a contract with Amazon for distribution. Skydance is also really keeping the budgets low by shooting in Ontario, Canada. I mean, one of the things that I enjoyed is I'm recognizing a lot of the locations they shot in and redressed, and I'm like, yep, I remember working there a couple of times. Oh yeah, I've lived in that little city for a year or so. And they do a better job trying to hide the Canadianisms in it than other shows that shoot in Canada, especially in the Ontario area, because and when you're shooting in Toronto, a lot of the streets have streetcar rails. And that you don't find those in New York. You don't find those in parts of Seattle or any of the big major cities on the coast. And a lot of shows, productions that are shooting there cheaply, they just don't care. They don't even bother hiding it. I thought Reacher did a significantly better job hiding it, because I didn't catch it nearly as much as I would any other show that's shot like that. So
same here, Script, because I can also catch it because we're Canadian, so we're like, oh yeah, I can see it. I didn't catch it as much. I thought they did a really good job with it, in that sense.
Yeah.
Here is what we know so far about season 3. It says there's no really good way to know. It's almost because there's 21 of them. So they don't know, but however, Rickson said in interviews that season 3 will be based on one of his favorite Reacher books, one that is on every top 10 list of the series. So it's gonna be based on one of those, giving you guys clues, and we'll see Reacher in a whole new world, whatever that means. Could that possibly mean Tripwire set in Florida, or 61 Hours set in a snowy South Dakota? The books that were adapted to the Tom Cruise movies, One Shot and Never Go Back, are also beloved, but it seems unlikely they'll go back to it, and we'll see. Florida would be fun.
I don't think they'll do One Shot and Never Go Back, because they've already been done.
Yeah.
And if you take those two plus the first 2 seasons, that leaves 21 left, essentially.
Yeah. I think Florida would be fun. I would love to see
Reacher
Alan.
fight a gator.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
Reacher, like just in Florida with like all the pretty ladies in like Miami with like the beaches and just. I think you could have a lot of fun. Like Florida Keys, there's a lot of drugs going on over there. I mean, come on, it's just like
Yeah. No, I
there's a
think that'd
lot
be
of
a lot of fun if you
opportunity.
went from like the Keys or Miami. Yeah, those would be two really good options.
Yeah, I would definitely. Ooh, we got somebody saying it might be Tripwire, definitely. Ooh,
I'm like, I don't know
maybe.
what that
And
means.
some Florida man
That
moments.
was
that
the
could
name
Oh,
of
be-
the
that's the
book.
Florida
That's one
one.
of the books, yeah.
That's the Tripwire set in Florida. Yeah. Speaking of Florida, by the way, I have seen just throwing this out there since we're talking about like Florida and another series. I did watch a very good. I thought it was good season that it's not very talked about. It's called Florida Man on Netflix. It's a really short mini series. It's like about like I think it's like 6 or 7 episodes, and it's kind of like a treasure hunt story, and it's really good. Like I thought it was. Nobody talks about this, but if you guys want something else to watch that's kind of like actiony, a little bit of mystery, but it's like a treasure hunt. Florida Man on Netflix I thought was a good one. Have you guys heard about it or seen it?
I've only heard of the
I
Mike
haven't.
Baron comic Florida Man, actually.
No,
So I haven't
no,
heard this one.
that's yeah.
I might
You guys should check it out. It's very short. It's short but sweet. And it was just like a really fun. It was a really fun one. And people were trying like originally when it came out, people were trying to get it canceled because it was called Florida Man. And it was like they were trying to say like Florida sucks and like the Republicans suck and all these different things, like bad things about Florida, and they should never have called this show Florida Man and like all this. So I got intrigued to watch it because of that, and it turned out to be a really good show. And Mars is saying it's good. It is good. It's a good show. But okay, we went through Reacher. That was our review of season 2. What do you guys give it out of 10? Script Doctor, what do you give it out of 10?
I don't do number ratings, but I will strongly advise you watch it. It's a good show. It needs some love. It needs to have a little more of a viral spread throughout the interwebs.
Yes, spread them. Phrasing. Michelle, out of 10, what do you give it?
Okay, my out of 10 number, so I can clarify to people, it's like my level of enjoyment. Doesn't mean
Okay.
it's a perfect show, critically or things like that, but my level of enjoyment, I give it like an 8 out of 10.
There you go. Okay. Teresa, what about you?
She took the words out of my mouth. I think that 8's good. It's a solid B, not an A, not a C, but a B. And I got the thing about the spreadum too, because I was just thinking about Reacher when you said that. So,
Oh my.
never.
Oh my.
It's okay. We can appreciate the male body, and so yeah, and that's what I like about the
Absolutely.
show too. So, well, he's a 10 out of 10, maybe actually an 11, but
Ooh.
but the show it was a solid B. I would be a liar if I said it was great, but this is the kind of stuff we really need to be encouraging. There is good entertainment out there, and make that go viral. Let people see that's what people want, and I just think it's hysterically funny that this is probably far more profitable when you look at budget, etc., than the Rings of Crap that they did. So another poetic justice.
Yeah, the show's definitely worth watching.
Oh my God, definitely. I mean, I'm going to call you out again, Mr. Tom Connors. I'm so disappointed in Tom that he has not watched Reacher at all yet. Like he hasn't even watched season 1. And I was like, Tom, I'm disappointed in you. You need to change that.
Oh, Tom.
So I know. I was like, dude, what the hell? Because okay, here's the thing. We constantly talk about how entertainment is suffering, constantly talk about bad things in entertainment, just, because it's very bad. It's very bad. Things are bad right now in entertainment. So whenever there's something good, people, especially people who are on YouTube and talk about shows, I think should be watching these good shows and talking about them and getting the word out. So it's important. And I think that And that's why I'm doing this, because I absolutely adore Reacher. I think it was such a great show, such a fun show. Like Michelle said, doesn't take itself too seriously. There's not a huge message in there. It's just fun, plain old action. Even when you don't believe it, you're suspending your disbelief because this guy is like fucking hanging on to his helicopter in the middle of crazy freaking wind and all this shit, and he's rescuing the girl because you've got to rescue the girl. Even if the girl's badass and can take care of herself, you got this big, muscly, amazing guy just just kicking ass and taking names, and it's just so much fun. So I highly recommend everybody watch Reacher if you're into action. You got to watch it. You're missing out if you don't. Having said all of that, I'm going to give it, I think I'm going to give it like an 8 or 8.5 out of 10 as well. I liked season 1 a little bit better because I really like that black detective. And I love that he like made a cameo in this season, but I really liked his character, and I really like the other characters as well. So I just liked season 1 a little bit more. And maybe it's also because it was the introduction to Reacher. So I kind of
And you got to binge
that. Yeah, and I got to binge it. So I think maybe that's what it is. But I'm definitely gonna rewatch this so I can do the the full binge as well, and I kind of like feel that. When we did our first review, when we reviewed episode 1 to 3, I complained a little bit about Alan Rickson having gotten like a little too big. I was like, he needs to like tone it down a little bit. Then on Twitter, I saw somebody go off about how this dude's disgusting and he like looks like he's sick, like he looks gross and like all this stuff. So I've changed my mind on that. He looks fucking great. Good for you, Alan. Keep going. Just like be buff and don't listen to any of these haters. He looks amazing, and we need more men to look amazing. So that is where I'm gonna leave it at. DL for $1.99 says, I Googled, there's 29 Jack Reacher books. Wow. Well, that article failed because it said 21. So that was their bad and not mine, because I don't care.
It's a lot of Jack Reacher novels.
I know, man. How often is this guy pumping them out? Like, holy cow.
And I feel like that's, I know they did the Lord of the Rings thing, but they didn't really have a full book for that. I feel like when they've had books they've adapted, it's been pretty good. Like I really enjoyed Bosch on Amazon. And then also I thought the Jack Ryan series they did was pretty entertaining. And then I think Reacher's entertaining.
Tulsa King too. Tulsa King's great. That's on Amazon.
Well, but that's not Amazon. But yes, Tulsa King's really good.
Oh, that's not right. You're right. That's not Amazon.
It's
Where was
Paramount
that?
Plus.
Paramount, right?
Paramount.
Oh, that's Paramount.
Yeah,
that's right.
Like MTV makes it actually, but it's on Paramount.
I can't wait for the season 2 of that. That's gonna be.
Yeah,
that's
when
gonna
is
be
that
good.
coming?
I don't know. Let me Google it real quick. Tulsa King season 2.
Can't tell too soon.
Has been renewed. No news. There's no news as of yet.
I don't think
which
they've
means
done anything with it.
The writer's strike probably effed it a little bit.
Not only that, Taylor Sheridan probably has to build a new room because he can't do the weird tactics he's been doing recently, which is making his own private mini room and then selling the show with his name on it and none of the other writers associated with it. So,
okay, well that's weird. Taylor Sheridan needs to get fucking season 5 done of Yellowstone and just call it a day.
Oh well. Yes.
Russell Hall says, hold on, does this show exist as fat material full of ladies? No, Russell, that's not how we work. Okay.
No.
And
I was teasing. Y'all know me, I'm a good girl. So no.
Yeah, right, Teresa. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that for a minute. You're a rose. Roses have thorns. They're all pretty, but
no.
Can't trust a rose. It's like the little prince.
I could go into a long explanation, but there's nothing wrong with appreciating the male body the same way there's nothing wrong with appreciating the female body. And I think
exactly.
It's like what you said. if he's been building his body the way he is, like literal bodybuilding and stuff, that's definitely something that's good. There's nothing wrong with that.
One of the writers fell out with production on Tulsa King, says
Oh.
Ref. Oh, that's bad news. But
Oh, no.
okay, well, that's for another stream. We reviewed Reacher season 2. Go watch it, guys. It was great. Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. Special thanks to those of you who super chatted, became a member, gifted memberships, all that good stuff. Thank you for supporting the channel. We're gonna do our outros, but before the show ends, everybody go to Flash's channel. Flashcast is happening tonight, so make sure you go and watch Flashcast. And let me see here if I had any rumble runs because I forgot to check. No, we're good. So thank you, and let's go around the horn. Michelle, thank you for joining tonight on this late Saturday night stream. Please plug your channel. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me and my sister at Force Flight Entertainment on YouTube, and we do movie reactions, movie reviews. We just did a first-time watching reaction of Coming to America. So go check us out. We've got new reactions coming out every week. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, you are welcome anytime, my dear. And Teresa, thank you for being here tonight. Tell everyone where they can find you and what you got coming up next.
Okay, we can find here Miss Martin Muses on YouTube, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really, really ticks me off. I have been mostly monetized for quite a while, but I am 80 away from getting the big 1,000 and the biggest party on the planet, which I'm planning. So then I will be fully monetized. I'll get those AdSense videos will kick in. So thank you for everyone that's been supporting me. I have some more Pub Crawl, my interview series, coming up this Wednesday with Shieldwall of Dragons. We're going to be talking about Robert E. Howard's Conan the Barbarian stories. So if you are a fan of Conan the Barbarian, please be sure to tune in and hit that bell. And more cooking and some of my musings, my rantings, my ravings, some House of the Dragon material as we get closer. So maybe check out some fantasy over there on my channel too, with some of my Lord of the Rings and the Sword of Shanra and Magician.
Excellent. Everybody go and subscribe to Teresa. We got to get her monetized. It needs to happen. So make it happen. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Script Doctor, last but certainly not least, are you frozen over there, by the way? Are you frozen?
It's pretty cold. It's -9.
Ooh, that's
It's
cold.
cold here too.
Ooh, that's cold. Okay.
Yes.
What do you got coming up next, and what's going on with you?
Well, right now I'm just kind of getting some gigs to build up some savings as Hollywood is getting back to business. So I'm a little slow on some things, but every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do a show called Scripts on Saturdays, where I and a co-host review a screenplay that is currently circulating the industry, and we rate it on its merits. And tonight we had a really solid script. It was the first one that got at least a green light by me in regards to I would actually put it into production if I could. And I had Adega from Adega Outlaw on YouTube who shared his thoughts, and it was a great conversation. And I strongly advise you go check it out on the replay, because it's a show where you get a little bit more of an inside perspective of what's going on in the pre-production area of Hollywood, what's being shopped around, what people are liking. And it gives you an interesting perspective on whether or not Hollywood's going in the right direction or not. So go check those out on the replay.
Very cool. Thank you so much for being here. And as for me, like I said earlier, if you missed it, I am going to be probably taking the week off this week because my mom's coming to visit me because she was sick of being in the frozen wasteland that is Canada. So she's like, I'm coming to Cancun for a visit. So she's coming for my birthday, which is next Sunday. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a time off to hang out with Mama Infinity. And but I will be here though for Infinite Hope on Friday. I won't miss that show because that's a very important show because we all need good news. So I will be doing that, and probably like that will also be like my birthday stream as well. So I'll do a little birthday stream, maybe invite a couple people to come on Friday and hang out for Infinite Hope and do a little birthday YouTube.com/good news stream and have some fun. So if you guys are interested in that, you can see me next Friday. And until next time, you guys, enjoy everything that is out there and just have fun. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.